now, they're all saying, how do we sell comics? How do we sell comics? And I just go, how about if we make comics again? How about if we go and do some comics, you know? That would be a start. And how you do that is you have a cliffhanger, a real honest to God one. And you don't do an event, you do an actual story driven by subplots. I don't know. Maybe that's old school. It's old fashioned, but it works.
My wife and I just finished for the first time watching Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And, you know, talk about subplots and cliffhangers.
Yeah. And what do you find yourself doing? Can't wait to get to the next one. I don't care if it's literary or disposable. If you can make me go to the next one and go, man, or think about it and I want to get to it, I'm there. And you can do Breaking Bad, which is potato chips, or you can do Fargo, which is filet mignon. Either way, I accept it and go, they're great. I don't put one above the other. They're great. You know, Fargo, literary. Breaking Bad is like, well, what do we do to him next? What does he do to someone next? I don't care. It's perfect. They both work. I can both watch them. I have no problem with cheap entertainment. My whole career is looking for the next good cheap thrill. If someone wants to put literary in it, okay. But I think we've went so far to what is faux literary that it's not literary. It's like pretending to be literary, which is the stuff I avoided in English class, you know? I went, this is nah.
You know, it's funny. As you bring this up, I'm thinking about how a friend of mine in college came to me and he said, hey, you'd like this, Chris. You're into comic books. I'm taking this English class, and our teacher has us reading this comic called The Sandman. It's just one arc of the series, yeah. Season of Mist. And this was, you know, before I knew it.
Yeah.
And of course, long before I knew you. But that really opened my eyes to this idea that comics could be literary works of art. And comics were so meaningful to me as a kid, but this idea that now my friend was studying it in a university, you know,
I want that class. Chris, I want that class. That's a good one. I can sail through that one. No, look, if I was to describe Season of Mist, it would be the Bible by way of Jack Kirby. That's really what it was, right? No, you can put in those elements. I'm always putting in something symbolic that no one will get and no one will care about. And if they come back later and look and go, hey, fine. But it's essential that they're entertained at first, you know? Entertainment first, lecturing and hectoring later. You know, it's like that's secondary. Because you can do both. But I always think that when I'm doing this, for example, when I read a script, I don't read a script and think, here's all the things I'm going to do. It's like, I think I know what I'm going to do, but I don't know if that's going to work. And then I get to it and I think, how do I take, and this always happens, how do I take this high thoughtful moment and lower it so it's interesting? And how do I take this dull scene and lift it up to where there's it's always that balance.
You got to sabotage it.
Yeah, but out of it, people want to follow that journey. And when I was doing Sandman, I would love to say great I was watching Gilligan's Island when I was drawing it, you know? And I'm not lowering it, but we had talked it all out. I knew what was there. I knew what to do. Neil had a few ideas that I went, and they worked beautifully on the page. So you begin to trust him. And he trusted me on some stuff that he went, but it worked really nice. It was not a comic, any of those things in those days. Look, and I'm not saying I can see these things. After I say all this stuff, and it sounds like I know what I'm doing. I couldn't see Red Rain for being what it was. I thought, oh, how stupid. Batman finding Dracula? Where's the Joker? Where's Two-Face? I don't want Dracula. And they said, no, 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 no. Just read the treatment. Just read the treatment. And I'm going, how do I get out of this? Now I got to read something. I'm back in school. I got to read a treatment? Well, how long is the treatment? And I'm thinking 2 or 3 pages. It's about 40 or 50 pages. It's not a script. It's the treatment. I'm going, geez, I can't even lie to get out of this. Now I really do have to read this to say no. Because I can't say yes to because in my head I saw stupid. I get it. I read about 10 pages of probably not even that much. I start reading, I go, okay, the first page was lucky. That was a good one. The next one is going to suck. I read that, that's okay. And I read, and then after about several pages, I went, all right, I put it down because I don't want to read the rest. I don't. I put it down, I call him, I say, I'm on. I'm going to do this. This is really terrific. It still was different when I drew it. It got bigger. Nowhere did it say he turns into a vampire. It just, he's a vampire. Little fangy things. But I turned it into this thing. It worked. It was a beautiful story. And it's one of those magical moments. I had quit Sandman to do Batman thinking they said, we would love you to come and do some Batman. I went, wow, okay, that's the New York Yankees of comics. I've got to try that and go up to that next level. And it's where you begin to trust the ideas, because, and my own prejudices, like I said, I had to dissolve those and just let what Doug wrote wash over me and stop what I thought it was going to be, because it wasn't. And it got bigger, and he told me when I said, God, I'm really surprised I liked it. And he says, well, of course you did. It's a true Gothic. It goes to hell. Everybody dies, one of those things. And I went, yeah, I didn't expect that. I really didn't expect this. And so at that point, and it had everything going against it. Again, it was a book. I think they did it more for Doug. Okay, Doug, here's your thing. You want to do it. Kelley, if this is what it is, okay. And then the coup de grace on the book of just killing it was Alan Grant and Simon Bisley's Judge Dredd's Batman book was to be released the same day. So I went, really? Can we be a month before or a month later? And all I'd heard, mind you, and justifiably so, the summer before, I'm working the spring and the summer on this thing, and all I'm hearing from the office is, man, wait till you see this Simon Bisley job. I would talk to Alan Grant. I'm friends with Alan Grant, and Alan goes, I've never seen anything like this. Yeah. That's all I get is how great Simon is, right? Of course, right? So I work on this thing. Judge Dredd, Batman, promote like crazy. It's the thing. Me, it's like, and oh yeah, Dracula and Batman's in the back if you want to see it. But look at this. So the day it comes out, we sell out. I'm stunned. I'm getting calls from everyone saying, we sold all of our hardcovers on this. DC tells me the next week, they tell me, they go, it was released then on Thursdays. Came out on a Thursday, gone by Friday. And I went, what? So I get this wonderful thing from Alan Grant, gets a hold of me, and goes, what the fuck did you do to us? Here we are. The story is all, this book came out. Did you get this Vampire Dracula book and whatever? I always love Doug Mensch after that. I go, can you believe that, Doug? And Doug, being the cool Chicago, New York by way of Chicago guy, goes, you got to have faith. You got to know. You knew. I knew. I go, I didn't know. So there's those things. And I completely misread the script, completely misread what we were doing while we were doing it. Was totally clueless. But what I did was enjoyed each day working on it, going, well, at least today I enjoyed it. You put it in the pile, and pretty soon you have like 60 days like that. That's a lot. And then it's 90 days of that. And I thought no more of it. You know, it went out. I was thinking I was on to the next thing, whatever they had me doing. And I was trying to just get ready for we were sitting on a case of these. And I was all ready with me. I was right about this. No, you don't know. And that's luck.
At that time, were there many hardcovers coming out, or was that kind of the beginning of that?
I don't know why they chose the hardcover. I to this day, I don't know. I think the only thing I knew that were hardcover, and it was just a coincidence. They had released Seasons of Mist in a leather-bound hardcover at the same time. So I had the good fortune of having two early things come out in hardcover, which was very prestigious, right? Ooh, we could be in a bookstore now. But the knock on it was DC had this thing then of not going back to, if it sells out, that's it. So we were clamoring. I remember Neil Gaiman was going, what do you mean? We sold however many thousands, like 30, 40,000. And the reorders were 30, 40,000. And then Red Rain came out and did like 50,000 and was reordered actually for about twice as many. And DC said, yeah, we're prestigious. We're not going to do that. I'm like going, then pay me the royalties I would have gotten and keep your prestige. And so, you know, Neil was doing the same. It was funny because I sat there and go, well, if you're going to have a problem, well, that's the kind to have, right? So you have to put lemonade out of those lemons. But all of these things were fluky. All fluky. And now I think they're trying to control the fluky. You know, they're trying to say, here's something unique and weird, and it doesn't work that way. In those days, it did work that way, you know. I don't think DC saw Dead Man getting Eisner nominations and Harvey. No way did they. No way. I didn't. Nobody did. No way did they see these hardcovers selling. No way does anyone see anything. I would love to give it credit to I could see the future. It isn't. It was all those years of reading those comics that disturbed me, Night Gallery, all that stuff, my deep fear of being bored, and the anger of wanting to be accepted for what I like. And not for my talent, but for just what I like. I don't want to be the only guy, you know? You know how it is. You meet someone who likes that one person who likes the same thing as you do. And I'm not saying it's like, you know, but you connect. And then it's this joy that, hey, there's someone else in the world that likes mayonnaise on French fries, you know? Yeah, but they do. Me too, right? So you look for that. And it's all you find that they have the same thing, that ideas come out of somewhere. I'm not one of those guys who likes to sit around and go, and the modes of alienation wash over me, and you can't understand lowly plebeians, but I do, and I can't do that. Those people I laugh at. And if I sit next to them at a dinner, I just go, you know, no, it's like, I don't mind a confident guy. I don't mind that kind of stuff, but don't tell me I don't understand. Because the fun is the great stuff we all grew up loving were from guys going, I gotta pay the bills. I gotta do it. You know, those guys. The little creeps will dig this. You know, the blue collary nature of that, I really like. Like I had been told when I took Batman as a monthly, I got a lot of pushback from everyone I was working with, friends, other artists, people I was working with, because they're going, why would you do that? That's like, you can do all these fancy projects and special things and whatnot. But it came from the fact that I had done an Aliens miniseries for Dark Horse. And that in and of itself was overcoming my deep fear of that film, which I hadn't watched since I saw it. You know, it's like, talk about something that blisters you. Paging Dr. Freud on this. So I just couldn't watch that film. And when they talked me into doing it, I knew I had to watch that movie again so I could because then they didn't have a lot of reference. You had to watch it. So I watched and got through it and realized it was terrific. The trauma levels had lowered and my appreciation of the artistry had went up. And it was very successful. It came out wonderful. I worked out all my Alien fear. Now I can watch Alien all the time. But Doug Wildey, who was doing some stuff for Dark Horse, was at a convention. And I wanted to meet him because this is Johnny Quest and all the great stuff he had ever done. And as it turned out, they had said, hey, Doug Wildey would like to meet you. Would you come and, it was at San Diego. Go have a cup of coffee or something. So I go, oh, yeah, God, really? And he and his wife, we sat down, and he had seen Alien, the book I had done. He says, I don't pretend to understand it, but I feel like I feel like through you, I didn't waste my time. I can see what you liked. I can see where you came from. I can see it. And I respect that. And so we talk a little bit, and then I didn't ask him, but he just says, you know how you get good? This is how you get good. And I said, okay, am I not good? And he goes, no, you're good. But you had a lot of time on this. Here's how you get good. They offer you whatever. And you do it for, let's say, 2 or 3 years, you do it. Not the first book, or not the first several books. It's the very last couple books you do. That's how good you are. If you've done it on time, meet the deadline, follow the constraints of the practical business side of this whole thing, and bring something new to it. You don't repeat yourself. You don't do the same imagery. You da-da-da. He went through this whole thing, and it was like, it's like Fred Flintstone. He gets littler as they talk, and finally he's that little guy when Mr. Slate, and he was complimenting me, but I felt like this big because I went, he's absolutely right. If you give me all these months I had to do it, it should be this way, right? But if you're going to do what the guys I grew up loving, they didn't have that luxury. It was like, I got to pay the rent. And that was their attitude. And they weren't making a lot of money. So a year or two later, I think it was about 2 years later, Danny O'Neill called and said, do you want to do it? And I didn't run it by Doug or anybody else because we had all these other plans. And I said, yes, jumped at it. Yes. Part of it was Batman, but a lot of it was what Doug had said stuck in my head. Doug Wildey was right. And I learned to draw in that 3-year meat grinder, 36 issues in 36 months. And there's no forgiveness in it. It's just they grind and grind. Are you sick? It's Goodfellas. I don't care. Draw. Your house burned down? Draw. Oh, your dog had to go to the vet and didn't do good. Draw. It didn't matter. Christmas? You don't need Christmas. And that's happened. So there would be times where I go, hey, everybody, this was a great Thanksgiving. I got to go. If you didn't eat early, I'll just eat the hors d'oeuvres. I'll eat leftovers tomorrow. I got to go. Because you had to make these, certainly the winter publishing deadlines, because the printers would take 2 weeks off. You have to be there. And that's where I learned to draw. And there was no artsy-fartsy in that. There was no modes of alienation. No, I'm waiting for the mood to strike. It was like, I got to come up with something. And you got to compete. And you got to be... So I've always been very proud of that run. If only for that. Because that is where I learned to do it. And all the stuff leading into it, if there's an art class, that was it. It was, I don't give a shit, get it done. And you can't, there's, the thing I found, I became intolerant of hearing artists go, they were mean to me, and they didn't. I go, really? You worked to get here, now you complain being here, be here. And I know that surprises people because they always come up to me and go, well, you draw these crazy, weird things, and it's all, you're weird, and the strangeness, and the da-da, and they think I'm like sitting around in, the Addams Family house. And I go, no, it's the opposite of that. There was a period where I was trying to make deadline on a Batman book. And factor in my kid's Little League. So I had to work in these odd hours, but not miss his Little League stuff. Because I didn't want to be my kids to be my fans. I wanted to be their dad and not be. We vaguely know that guy upstairs in his little studio. You know, it's like my kids didn't even know I drew until they were like 12 or 13 years old, because I didn't ever tell them. It's like my dark secret, you know. I remember telling someone, they go, "You didn't tell." I go, it's like if you were the photographer for Playboy, you don't tell your kids that. You don't say, "I go to work and photograph that all day." You just come home and say, Dad worked. That's it. And I didn't even tell them my work. They thought I just watched movies, and poor mom had to carry our ass. You know, I just didn't. So, because I didn't want fans, I wanted kids. I don't want them to be caught up in all this world of this, you know? It's entertainment. And you know how careers go like that, and you don't want them riding that. Where I don't care, they might. So you don't want them affected by it. I think they were honestly horrified. I took them, they were like 14 or 15 years old, both. They're a couple years apart. And I took them to the first time ever to a comic book show at that age, at San Diego. And they didn't look with admiration and awe where you have a big long line, you're signing books. They looked at you like,
Dad's a nerd.
You know, it's more, well, they would look at all these strange people in line, and I'm talking about stuff they've never heard me talk about. Yeah. And I'm like going, I tell my wife, "Get him out of here, get him out of here, get him out of here."
Don't let them see me like this.
No, it was awful. Well, I saw you at that show. That
was that show.
That was that show. And they had not, you know, they were like, "This is weird." They loved it, but they loved it the way you would as, you know, hey, there's Doctor Who things, or there's whatever gaming things they were into. Not comics, not the stuff we did, you know, and all the goofy crap we talk about. So that was an eye-opener for them, you know. Since I've taken them to one, I don't even see them now. As soon as we go there, bang, they're gone, you know, which is cool. But it was strange. It's a strange thing for them, you know, because they just don't see it where you have people. They don't see you having fans. They don't see you having readers. They don't see it, which I am grateful for, you know. I always put it this way: their kids will be impressed. They aren't. Their kids will be impressed. That's really it. So one day they'll go online and see this, and they'll say, "God, Grandpa was all right." "Dad, you didn't tell me."
Yeah.